This week I met a guy making 33 million euro a year, and I'm going to tell you in this episode, in this shorter episode, what I learned, how I met this guy, what I learned from him, and the costly mistake most entrepreneurs do every day without even realizing it. And I'm also going to tell you about the 2 steps to make faster decisions and be more decisive, the power of, and I'm also going to talk to you about the power of visualization and how to use it to reduce your fears, improve your performances, and be less stressed in pretty much any situation. So if this is something interesting to you, this episode is going to serve you tremendously, especially because it's a lot shorter than usual. And also, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Valid Psycho. Why should you listen to me, right? So I went from being a broke personal trainer from an immigrant family to working with multi-millionaires, and now building my own business, working with millionaires, helping them grow their businesses, and building up my own business to 7 figures soon. And I do a lot of things. I try different stuff. I, for example, went carnivore for 3 months, and I tell you about all these things that I do to help you become truly free and successful. I want to document the things I learned to help you become truly free and successful. This is what I want myself, right? To be truly free to me means not only financially free, but like in your health, not having issues in your personal life that you feel like a slave to, right? Maybe you feel a slave because you're afraid of something, right? I want to be helping you become truly free and successful and live a great life, a life that you love living, right? So if this interests you, consider subscribing on this episode, on this podcast, because it will serve you tremendously, and I will give you these golden lessons throughout the storyline of my week. So, how did I meet this guy making 33 million euro a year? By the way, you'll be impressed what he sells. Let's play a game. Tell me which industry you think he's in, right? Tell me what industry you think it is in. Do you think he's in technology? What do you think he's selling, right? Tell me in the comments. If you're watching, just play the game. Try to guess. I'll tell you at the end. Most likely you won't guess. You'll be surprised. And I went to my cousin's shop, a pool accessories shop, and he just opened it, and I went there helping him with some marketing. And at one point this guy comes in, and I didn't think too much of him, and he says, "Hey, this guy, don't believe what you see, right? Don't just no. He's a big guy. He's a big guy." And I'm like, "Well, okay. Well, it doesn't look like it." You know, it came with a very simple car, to say the least, and actually a worse car that I am right now in, and wearing just normal clothes, a shirt with a big collar, and with running shoes, right? Doesn't really care. And yeah, we talked a little bit, and I asked him some questions, but I didn't ask him questions that will serve me. I actually asked him questions that were just being curious about him. He was basically building a new pool, and my cousin charged him for $100,000. And I just spoke, and I was a little tired. And next day I wake up, and I realize, what did I do? I regret not having asked him so many questions. The next morning, I had so many questions in my mind trying to ask him. And guess what? I didn't take his number or anything like that. I mean, he would have not said no. He would we were chilling, right? And I was like, he could have saved me just with one answer to these questions. He could have saved me years, because he's been in business. It's not like a quick 33 million euro a year. You don't get there just like that by chance. He's been like in business for 30 years, right? I'm in business like for 5 years. So I have a lot of learnings to do from this kind of person. And I didn't ask him any questions about that. And the reason is I think I was kind of tired. I was not thinking, and I didn't know. I didn't know he was making this much. My cousin told me, watch out, this is a big guy. But I didn't know. I was thinking like he thinks a big guy is making a couple of millions. Okay, it's just not a big deal, right? And a lot of people have just, I don't know. I didn't realize. And then after he went, after he was gone, he told me, you know how much he makes, this guy? 33 million euro a year. And I was like, you could have not told me this earlier, right? But I think it would have not changed anything because I was not in the mood, I was not prepared to ask him questions that would actually serve me, to actually learn from him. And he was talking about how he asked a bank for a loan of $30,000 euros. And they didn't accept it. He went there, he said, okay, you see this accounts, all these accounts, boom, 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 boom. These seven accounts, you close them, you put all this money on your main account, and he made a wide transfer all his money to another bank, like that. And the banker was like, red. He was like, oh my God, what have I done, right? And it's funny because when you get to this level of success, you get some power, right? You get some power, and people want to be around you and don't want to make mistakes from you. Just like I made this mistake, not asking them questions, right? And so this made me think, how many people do you see in the street? Because you could not tell this guy was making 33 million a year. Impossible. You would have never guessed it. Maybe you would have thought, okay, it's pretty good, right? He's making a little bit of money. The way he holds himself and everything, he might be making 100K a year. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he's making 500K a year, right? But he's a normal guy, normal dude, right? A normal French dude. And I see a lot of guys like that. And who knows, maybe they are making millions as well. Maybe they are even wealthier than that, right? Maybe they're making 50 million a year. You don't know. Just because you underestimate. This is the mistake. We underestimate a lot people that we see, right? People might not look rich. And actually, this is the real thing. Like we were talking about taste and everything, and my cousin had just brought out some Versace, what do you say? Like the Versace ground. I don't know how it's called, right? Just the material that is that you can make the ground. Yeah, the ground of the pools. I don't know how to say that in English. Like what is the word in English? And he had brought out some like Versace things, and these are luxurious things. And he was like, "Do you like that?" I was like, "It's not my taste, right? It's too flashy." Like there was some gold things with like very like poppy and very, how do you say that? Very bling bling stuff, right? Very shiny gold, and like, yeah, this is disgusting. This is disgusting. And people don't like people that are at a certain level don't like these shiny things. They like sobriety. Like it's just sobriety. No, you don't say that in English. They like simpler, like tastes, like soft white and black and gray and things like just like luxurious, like truly luxurious, not luxurious trying to show off, right? And when you see someone wearing like big, I don't know, Louis Vuitton hats or anything like that, you don't just, what are you doing? What are you doing? It just like it's not tasteful. It's just, this shows that you're not rich. But people that are very wealthy, they were very just simple things, very simple things. They might cost even more, but it doesn't look like it, right? It's not like they're telling everybody, hey, I'm rich. Actually, they're trying to play it down. And I thought this was interesting because I had a lot of questions for him. And I also thought because of realizing that this guy could have saved me years of my life just by answering one of my questions that I thought about the next morning. I was like, man, because I stopped reading and I was like, I gotta read more. Like, there are people that I've went through their entire lives, wrote down the best things they learned in their life, and I'm not reading their book. I must start reading a lot faster and learning from them, because this could actually save me. Like, I got back my motivation for learning a lot more, because sometimes when you learn a lot, at one point you feel like, okay, it didn't serve me too much, right? And so you lose kind of like interest slowly because you get used to learning from people but not being really aware of the information that you get. And once you start being aware of this very valuable thing that you just learned, you are more curious, you have more intent, and so it actually makes you learn more. And also I thought I should maybe read more French business books, right? French entrepreneurs books, because I'm in France right now, right? And so maybe the way when you consume, like when people are in your industry, for example, it's going to serve you more because it's more specific, tailored to you, you as an audience, right? And so I thought maybe I should stop reading like US entrepreneurs book, like Americans book, but more French people's book. So maybe you can ask yourself, maybe in your industry, who are the people, the big dogs in your industry that you could read from them, and this will actually impact you more. Let me just open a little bit of the door because it's very hot, and last time I recorded an entire podcast in a 1 hour episode, and my phone overheated because it's under the sun, and in my car it's kind of hot, and I don't want this to happen again. So next thing I wanted to talk about is decision making and the 2 steps to actually make good and fast decisions. Can you hear the birds? It's pretty awesome. I think it's not bothering. I was thinking about decision making because I listened to the podcast of Ed Mylett, and Ed Mylett said something along these lines. It's not about making the right decision, it's about making the decision right. And so it's all about your process to making decisions. It's not about whether or not you get the best decision, right? Because most of the time, when you are hesitant between 2 options, most of the time, whether you choose one or the other, it's not gonna make a big difference in the long run, right? What's going to make a difference is actually your certainty when executing on this decision. When you make a decision, make it with full certainty. And when you make it this way, it turns out to be the right decision, right? And it's more likely that you make a better move making the wrong decision with high certainty than the right decision with very low certainty, because you act on it timidly. And so what you want to do is put the facts down, right? So what I do, I have a process, right? So he told you, you need a process to make a decision, right? It's not about making the right decision, it's about making the decision the right way. And so you have a process. So my process is something I took from, I think, Leila Hormozi. And it's basically asking yourself, okay, what's the question that you need to ask yourself? What are we trying to solve for? And so what I'm trying to solve for is, okay, what is the exact question? And this question is supposed to reduce as much as possible the options. So instead of thinking, should I do this or should I do that? you ask yourself, okay, to make as much money as possible in the long term, should I do this or that or this third option, right? And so you have 3 options and you reduce down your options because oftentimes you're indecisive and you don't know what decision to make because you have too many options, right? And so it's overwhelming to think about it. But if you reduce it down with a very clear question, a specific question, everything becomes easier. And then after that, you ask yourself, okay, what symptoms am I noticing right now that made me think of, okay, I need to make this decision? Because maybe sometimes you're just fooling yourself, you're just procrastinating on something, and maybe you don't really need to make this decision. Maybe this is just something that because you're afraid, because you have some feelings, you came up with in your mind with the like thinking you have to make this decision, but in reality, it's not a problem. And so then I also ask myself, what things am I noticing right now that if they were not happening anymore, would make this problem go away? And then the inverted question, what would have to happen right now that would make the problem go away? Right? That would make this question irrelevant, right? This decision, I would have to make it if these happened. Just to get some clarity on why are you making this decision. Then after that, you list 3 options. What are your 3 options? 3 main options that you think might be a good possibility to make this decision right. After that, on each of these 3 options, I list the benefits, then the downsides, and also the worst case scenario. What could happen? What would be the worst case scenario? And how could I mitigate it, right? How could I reduce this worst case? By maybe taking some simple actions that would make it really unreasonable for this worst case to happen. And also I tell myself, okay, what is the worst case scenario probability of happening, right? So if it's not very likely, okay, I might make a decision in an easier way, right? And so when I list all these down, it's much like you can make the best decision, and you ask yourself, okay, which one of these options would be the best for you thinking long term? Thinking long term is the most important thing, because you want to think long term, because you might make the best decision right now that is going to make you comfortable right now. Cool. But it's not going to make you grow in the future. And this is what we want. And so yeah, this I think is very valuable to help you make very fast decisions. And also, on another podcast of Ed Mylett, he talked about visualization, and this reminded me of how visualization is so powerful. If you want to go, for example, and do public speaking, visualizing yourself doing this successfully is one of the most important things that you could do to reduce as much as possible your stress for doing that thing, right? For doing anything. And you need to visualize it with specificity and being very specific toward what's happening. And when you visualize, after you finish visualizing this scene happening and you are successful in it, ask yourself, where was the camera angle, right? Because you want to visualize with as much detail as possible so that it feels as real as possible in your mind. And now before that, you might ask yourself, you might say visualization is not this important. And the reason why it's so important is because it makes you familiar with the experience before actually living the experience. Because your brain doesn't know the difference between reality, at least your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and what you imagine in your mind. When you dream and you feel like things are not really happening in real life, in the exterior life, right? But your body feels like it's sweating, it's scared, and you feel the pain in everything that you feel in a dream, right? You feel it physically. And so this is because your brain doesn't make the difference between reality and your imagination. So what you want to do is imagine the actual scenario, playing it right. And so if you become comfortable in this scene in your mind, you will be much more comfortable in real life. And so to increase this, the power of this visualization, you can ask yourself questions like, do I see this? Is it blurry or is it very sharp and clear? Right? Is the image very sharp and clear? Am I seeing this in black and white or in color? So you can add colors. You can decide, okay, this is in red, this is in blue. People are wearing this, that. I'm wearing this. The sun is like that. You can actually just visualize as much as possible everything that you will see in your actual perspective, right? So for example, when you will be speaking in front of a public, you imagine yourself on this scene and seeing what you will see in this scene, in this position. Because if you put yourself with the camera being like in an upper vision, right? You kind of see yourself at the third person. It's not going to work as much if you see yourself as like what you see right now, and you see like your hands and kind of like your body, and you see the public, and you see everybody, you see the chairs, you see whatever, right? When you visualize it this way, it's extremely powerful. And in the next episode, I'm going to tell you about how I exactly applied this to speak in front of a public, and it worked, and I was so much more comfortable than I used to be. And this is going to be extremely useful. If you want that, don't forget to subscribe to not miss the next episodes, and like and subscribe if this helped you in any way. And I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.